Hi, I'm Susan Tatsui Darcy, and I'm here today to show you how to make surgical masks. I've already made a couple, so I've made some out of some scrap materials, and you can take a look at some of the material I have here. I think everybody's got a whole closet full of scrap fabrics that they have. So I grabbed everything that had 50% to 100% cotton, and I've got this great big pile over here. But then I went out to a fabric store. Rob went out to a fabric store just today. You can order the fabric online and show up at their curbside, and they pop the fabric into your trunk. You just pay for it ahead of time, and that way you're not out in public, you're not interfacing with anybody, you've got your car to protect you. And he went out and got all this fabric here for me today. And I'm hoping over the next 4 days that I can make 200 masks for the healthcare professionals at Valley Medical Center. So what I've designed is a 3-layered mask. There's a front and a back, and then there's a middle layer in here. You can see it here, it's white, and what that does is it holds the filter in place. And you can see the filter. Where's my filter? Here's the filter. So you can put a filter in there, and you can use a HEPA filter or any kind of filter. As a matter of fact, my daughter suggested that we use Swiffer dry wipes, or whatever they call these things, pads, and you can cut these out, and you can also just stick them inside the liner. So it's actually a 4-layer surgical mask, and I'm going to show you how to make that today. Because I'm making 200 masks, it's like an assembly line here. So I've already cut a bunch. I think there's like 60 masks here. So I've cut all the front pieces. So the front pieces are the pretty side, like you can see this here. It's the side that you want to show. So I've got these really pretty colors, and on the inside it's usually something plain or simple pattern, but you want them to know which is the front and the back, because the front part is from on the outside, which is going to be the part that gets the bacteria, the viruses. On the inside is where their face is and where they need to breathe. So you want them to be really clear so they don't accidentally put it on the wrong way. The face masks that I made also have a wire in it, and I've used these wires here. So just a wire like this, and with a wire snipper. And I place that into the mask here so you can bend the nose so it holds a shape like this, so it can hold based on the shape of your nose. And I have elastic to go around their ears, or Nicole mentioned that they're using paper clips to go all the way around to tie in the back like this so that they get a snug fit, because you're going to want to get a snug fit. You don't want any air coming in from around the face. And have created a pattern which I'll put up on the website. So here's the finished products. Here are the pieces. These are large for men, and I've just started cutting the mediums for women or smaller faces. And I would recommend doing all the cutting all at once. You can do this in front of the television, so you can just do this and just power it out and get them done. And I'm going to show you how to do that right here. I had a pattern like this, but I've changed it because now I've made it a little bit smaller, because Nicole, my daughter, mentioned that it's too baggy on the face. So I've made it smaller. And what I do is I just lay the pattern down, and I get my sewing scissors, my cutting scissors, and I cut around like this. I'm doing 2 at once, because this is 2 pieces of fabric together, and it only takes a few seconds to cut. And there we go. So now we've got the front. Okay, so I've cut my front, my middle piece, and my back side. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the fabric together, face sides together, so that it goes like this, because I'm going to sew that in a sec. So I'm putting it like this. So here's the front, and here's the middle, and this is already fine for the back. So I'm sewing it about a 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now I'm going to do the middle layer. And this can be out of jersey or any kind of fabric, because it won't be seen. So I'm using some old fabric I made for some drapery a long time ago. Okay, so I'm using this little ball I created out of rags, and I am going to open it up like this, stretch it down, and then I get the seams. I'm opening the seams because I want to open the seams so they can lie flat. I get my hot iron and come across like this, and I can flatten out the seams like this, which is much easier than doing it on a flat ironing board. Like that. And then when you're done with that, you just turn it around and you put it back on the little ironing ball and stretch it over like this, and then get your iron and go back over like this to make it nice and flat. So now I've got two of these done. So I've got the inside and the middle layer, and this is the outside layer. And I'm going to lay this one out flat like this. I just flattened it out a few seconds ago, and now I'm just going to iron it like this. Perfect. So it's a little confusing, so I just want to go over this with you. What we want to do is first get your front, and here's the front. And the front you lay down like this. So on the back side, on the wrong side of the front, you want to get the middle layer, and you want to get the right side of your middle layer to lay on top of the wrong side of your front. So this is the right side, this is the wrong side, so I'm going to put this like this, and this is the inside layer, and I'm going to put the right side of the inside layer against this. So now we've got these two layers like this, and then with this side, this is the front, this is the right side of the front, I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to get the inside layer, and I'm going to put right sides together. So here is the right side, and this is the right side. I'm going to stick it like this. So now the right sides are together. So I've got the right sides of the back and the front together. And then for this layer, I've got the wrong side of the front and the right side of the middle layer together. And as long as you put it like that, you'll be fine. And what I do is I just want to stick a little pin in here to hold it in place. And then I flip it around to the other side, and I just want to line up all the seams to make sure they're all aligned so it's not off center. And I just line them all up like this, and I get my pin and I hold them in place like this. Okay, so now I know that I've got all the layers correctly lined up. So what I'm going to do is get these seams here, and what I'm going to do is fold them twice, and then iron them so they lay nice and flat like this, like that, and that'll make it easy for me to sew it up. So you always want to keep the good side down, and then fold 2 times the fabric at the very end, only on one side, so we're only doing one side. So I did this is the front, this is the middle, and here's the back. And I just want to roll again, this twice, 1, 2, and then I hold, and I just iron it down. The reason I iron it is it makes it easy, I don't have to pin it, and it's all ready to go. And I'm just going to sew up all 3 of these seams for all 3 layers. So here's 1. Second one, and here is the last layer. This is the part that goes against the face, the purple. Okay, so here's my elastic. I have a 1/4 inch piece of elastic. It's about 6 inches long. You can adjust it based on how big. If you're making it for one person, you can actually just fit it to them. If you're making it for the hospital, for a large group of people, I'd say 6 inches is a good amount. And what you want to do with the 3 layers, you can take a look down here, is you want to get between the back and the front, the right sides of the back and the front, and you want to put this in like this at about a 1/2 inch. You don't want it to get stuck in the seam, so you put it this way and you have it go face in because that's how it has to go. And you put this on top, the front on top like this, and it's kind of picky. So let's just push it in here like this, and then you get your pin and you hold it in place, and then you go back and you find it in here. You want to keep it flat because you don't want the elastic to twist around their ears because it'll hurt. So you have to keep it nice and flat like that, and then you come back like this and you put it on the other side. Okay, so just making a loop inside here. And then you get your front piece on top of that, and then you get the middle layer on top of the front piece like this, and then you get your pin and you secure the elastic in place. So you put that in there. Okay, and with the second piece of elastic, you go to the other side. So we already secured the elastic on this side. This is the side that's going to be closed. But on this side it's going to be open. And you can tell it's going to be the open side because we've already sewed these seams here so that it doesn't unravel. And what we want to do is, you've got your back layer, you've got your front layer, and then you've got the layer between your front and your middle. And what we're going to do is get this elastic, but instead of going on the inside like we did the other side, we're actually going to go this direction. So we're going to line these up like this. We're going to put the elastic going towards the outside, and then we're going to attach or lay the middle layer on top of that. So we've got the back side, the front side, the elastic, and then the middle layer. And we're going to get a pin to hold the elastic in place just like we did the other side. And then by keeping the elastic nice and flat, we're going to come back to this direction. And again, we've got the inside layer, we've got the front side, the outside layer, and we're going to lay this right on top, and then we've got the middle layer, the part that holds the filter in place. And we go like this. And you get your pin, and you hold the elastic in place like this. And you can double check to make sure the elastic is flat. And the other elastic is on the inside here. And now we're ready to sew, because what we're going to do now is we're going to start on this side. We're going to sew to secure the elastic. We're going to go back and forth several times, and we're going to sew all the way around, all 3 layers. This is the bottom, this is the side, and it has the elastic under here. You can't see it, but the elastic's here. Then we're going to continue to sew on this side, which is the top, up to the nose, and down here to the very end. And we're going to sew this several times to hold the elastic in place. And then we're going to have this opening here where we can turn it inside out and the filters can go in. And just double check to make sure that your elastic is in place. And go like this. And back and forth a few times. And then once I feel like it's in a good secure place, then I look at all my 3 layers and make sure they're lined up nicely, which they should be because it's pinned in place. Lay it nice and flat to make sure there aren't any seams or puckers in here. And then I just go forward. Again, I'm sewing it about anywhere from 3/8 to 1/2 inch margins. And then I go ahead and make sure that it's still nice and flat. There's no puckers. Okay, now I'm coming to the other side, and this side also has a piece of elastic in there. Here, put the needle in, I'll pivot this over because I'm going to go back and forth over this spot. And I want to just make sure that my elastic is going the right direction, which it is. Like that, back and forth a couple times. And then I'm going to come this direction, and I'm feeling the elastic, and it feels like it's in good place. And I take the pin out, and I lay this down to make sure that this is all together, and it is, and that there are no puckers. Well, it looks like this is puckering a little bit, so let me straighten that out. Okay, so it's all in good place, and now I'm going to go straight down. Go back and forth a couple times. And then with the needle in place, I just lift the foot up and drop it down again, and now I'm going to go up towards the nose. And it's going to come up at an angle, like you can see it's cut here. And I am going to make sure that the elastic, which is right in here, I'm going to make sure it's not under my zipper foot, my foot, and okay, I'll take the pin out. When you get there, I'm just going to leave the needle in place. swivel it so that way it gets a nice little point up there. So that's where the nose goes. Okay, now I'm coming up again to the area where I've got my elastic tied in. So I'm going to pull the pin out and make sure that the elastic is lined up, which it is, with the fabric, the 3 layers of fabric below it. And so and just finished it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the corners here. And the reason I cut the corners is to get the bulk out, because there's 3 layers of fabric, and when we turn it inside out, it'll be bulky and it'll be hard to sew over. So I'm just going to go over and cut all 4 corners. Like this. Just take the triangle part. You want to make sure you don't cut the seam, but you want to get it close enough. Okay, there we go. So now I've got the mask with the elastic going this direction. I sewed all the way around the top, the sides, and the bottom, and left this open. It's really important to leave that open, because what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it inside out. And we want to turn it inside out where the back and the front are, not where the front and the middle layer, because this is where the filter goes. So I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to squish my fingers all the way down to here, pull it out like this, and there we go. So far so good. And it's hard to get the little corners and stuff out, so what I do is I use a crochet needle. Some people use a scissor, but sometimes a scissor pokes a hole in there, and the crochet needle is really nice because it doesn't do any harm. Okay, so I just push the crochet needle into the corners that we created there, and I kind of push out on all these seams so that it doesn't pucker, because we want to get the most mask area as possible. So I'm just going like this. Okay, and here is the mask, and this is the top here. I'm just going to pull this up like this so you can see it better. So we've got the mask like this, and there we go. What I like to do now is I like to iron it, and then we're going to put a seam around this so that it doesn't roll and doesn't fall apart. It kind of makes it firm, kind of like these masks. You can see how the seam I put in afterwards, the top stitching, it holds it in place and gives it a better shape, because like right now it's all rolly. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a sec. Okay, I want to make sure that my elastics are flat, which they are. I'm looking over here, make sure this is flat. Yes. And what I like to do is, well, this is the flat area, so I can actually do this. I wanted to just pull this out and roll the seams so that I can get this big as possible, and then I steam it so it lies nice and flat. I do both sides. This is the open side, this is where the filter goes. And this part's really hard because it's round, so we get to use my little ball that I made out of fabric. I mean, out of cleaning cloths. So what I want to do is find a nice round spot like this, and hold it like that, and then I get my iron, and I just come over like this, and just create the steam to make it lie really flat. And that's perfect. Okay, so now this is the part that's open, so you always want to start here so that you can end here, and you don't forget to not sew there. You want to keep this completely open. So what I want to do is stitch really close to the edge. So I usually do about eighth of an inch, 16th of an inch. Oops, let's go like this. And because we already ironed it, it's nice and flat, so it's pretty easy to do. To sew this. And I keep the needle in place, and And there we go. Okay, so you've got your wire, and what I like to do is get a needle nose plier and grab the very tip like this, and then just twist it in the same direction. Just go around once or twice. And the reason you do that is you don't want this to end up in somebody's nose. And go in a circle like this. And then I like to flatten it out, so if it's overlapping, I just want to make it one layer, so I kind of go like this, so it's flat. And then I look at the other side and I twist this so that it's the same. Okay, and then what I like to do is I find the top, and the top, you can always tell the top because it's the part that has the peak for the nose. And I just lay this out like this and determine where I want this to go. Like this. And then I can get an idea of where I want to put my seam. So I put my seam about here, a little bit bigger than the wire. And then I do the same thing on the other side, so about a ½ inch further. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and top stitch like this and leave like an L shape. So I'm going to go down and all the way across, but I'm going to leave this open because, oops, the other side. So I'm going to come this way and go around and leave this open because I'm going to put the wire in from this side. Once I put the wire in place, then I can finish the seam up here so it doesn't fall out. So I just sew about a ½ inch down. Keep my needle in place, and then I'm going to come across here and I'm going to stop here, but I'm not going to come back this way because this is where the wire is going to go and be placed in place. So I go here and I go back, and I just stop here because I'm going to go ahead and place the wire in just a few seconds. Okay, so now I've got, this is the front, this is the back, and the white layer, white and blue is the middle. And I want to put the wire on the part that's closest to the outside because the wire is going to hurt their nose, so we want to keep it as far away from their face as possible. So I stick this wire between the front and the middle, so I'm just going to slide it in here. And because I let that opening, I can slide it right through. And because I curled it, it's not getting stuck on anything. And I've got it in place. So I can feel it in here. It's right here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to sew this up here to make sure it doesn't fall out. So now I'm going to sew up this space that I left in there to make sure that the wire doesn't come out. So now the wire is in here. And I can adjust the little round circles that I put here so that it lays against their face nice and comfortably. And I can adjust the nose piece so it fits, and I can show you how it works, like this. So I can sit there right on top of the nose. These go over the ears. Okay, with one Swiffer sheet, so it's a lot smaller than your fabric pattern. So the filter is a lot smaller. The filter fabric is more expensive too, especially if you get a HIPAA. This is actually a Swiffer, but if you get an actual HIPAA filter, it costs about $10 a 20 by 20 sheet. So you can probably get, probably like 7 or like 8 masks out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew this. And I don't backstitch this because these are disposable, unlike the fabric that you can wash over and over again. Okay, so I sewed the filter together, and you don't have to do a whole lot of fancy things with this because this is going to be disposable. This gets thrown out. So what I do is I find the top, and then I fold down the top like this, down the middle, and then I get my crochet hook, and I fold it like this, fold it down because I want to stick this through here, and I want it to end up going all the way across here to the end. And I'm going to put it between the outside layer and the middle layer. So there's 3 layers here, remember? So the outside, the front, the middle, and the back. So I'm going to hold it like this. I'm going to hold the filter with my finger, and I'm going to stick it in here, and then I'm just going to keep rolling this down until I get to the very end. And then when I get to the end, I can feel the crochet hook, and I can feel the filter. I'm going to use my 2 fingers, and I'm going to hold it tight. I'm going to bring this out, and then I'm going to pull the fabric down like this. So now it's in the middle, but it's folded in half. So now I want to go through, and I want to open it up. And this takes a little bit of finagling to get it to open up the correct way, so that it opens the filter opens up and is spread out through the whole entire mask. And there you go. So the mask is now complete. So you've got your 3 layers. You've got your outside layer, your middle layer, and your front, your layer closest to your face, and then you've got the filter on the outside. You've got a wire in here that makes it a custom fit. You've got the elastics to go around your ears, or it's ready for healthcare professionals to use. They can use it for a whole day. When they're done, they should wash it in hot water and dry in a hot dryer, and they can reuse it forever. The only thing they will need to do is replace their filter, and that would depend on what kind of filter they have. Here you go.